look at me. 36 hours in New York, and I'm a self-made woman setting up my own. I promise my apartment is not this doom and gloom. I am just still in the process of moving in and getting settled, and this is out my office of sorts. Why is this so zoomed in? Hi, everyone. Okay. Happy New Year. It's January 13th. It's probably too late to say that, but I argue you could say it every month of the year because you've never lived April 2025 or October 2025, and it is a new year. It's the first time you're living 2025. So, and now I just do it to piss people off. But hi, I want to first apologize to listeners, fans, supporters, and even the haters of Big Yikes podcast for kind of going MIA for a minute. I'm going to check the exact date. I want to say it's less than 2 months. I know it's less than 2 months. So it's less than 2 months. I'm checking the last date of the last episode. Okay, it is exactly 2 months. Just made the cutoff. I'm very sorry about that. I think as most of you know who listen to this pod, maybe some of you don't, but I had a really exciting and extra busy end to 2024. And with my Adrian Arts Center for Performing Arts Miami show, big Miami theater show, and also had a really cool, you could see myself. If you are tuning in the video, you can see the reflection of myself and my Zoom in my massive new glasses that are so thick because somehow, some way, my vision has gotten worse. Anyways, get back on track, Brittany. And I also had a really big New York Comedy Fest show, and they both fell in November. And then I crashed so hard after that show. Both shows, they were like a week apart. And I remember I took a week and I just disassociated heavy, which I would say was earned. Felt guilty the whole time while doing it because of course, right? I think I didn't feel guilty for like 2 days, and then I was like, okay, I took 3 or 4 days off. This is ridiculous, but and then we rolled into Thanksgiving, and then I worked that whole weekend, and then I kind of had to rev myself back. Oh, and then I got so sick in the early December with a weird respiratory thing, and then I had to rev myself back up for Art Basel and Miami shows, and to do Chicago, which was awesome, and to do Aspen, which was so awesome. And then on the way back from Aspen, I got sick again. Wow, look at that. And then I still had gigs to make money then I rolled into the holidays. So a billion different ways of saying I'm sorry for the delay. That's why the production quality on this is like a little simpler than it would be, just because I wanted to get something out, even if it's just me being crazy and talking into my microphone, which is exactly what's happening right now. And to be honest, I overthink stuff. I think no shit, if you're a friend of mine or a listener of this pod, and I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist as well, no shit. And we had so many episodes backed up from South Florida, so many, which is a good thing, like so many to get through, me and my team. And so that was part of it. And then I even have like a set of seven from Los Angeles with some really awesome, so cool guests. And I started to feel like between October and November, I was just kind of putting the episodes out, and I was so busy with travel and stuff that I wasn't really even aware of what was getting clipped or what wasn't, and I wasn't kind of paying the right attention to the episodes, and which I'm probably just in my head about. And thankfully, Blondell, my producer, and Sean kept the whole machine going, and they're incredible. If you need any video editing, camera, photo needs, please, and real estate. He's doing real estate now too. Hire Blondell Garcon. It would help if you say his name right when you plug him, Brittany. And Sean is incredible too. And he runs the studio at Dynamic Color up in Pompano, which I guess a good time to share a bittersweet but mostly okay announcement that we have parted ways with the studio. It is fine. I am in New York. Yay. So that's what this episode is going to mostly be about, is all of that. And that's part of the reason. And Dynamic is killing it. And they're literally booked every day with rap stars and Coca-Cola and brands and famous people who have budgets I don't have. But it's all good because it was a perfect launch for Big Yikes. And we're going to maybe do something a little simpler and easier. But the upside to that is hopefully I don't take an exactly 2-month hiatus again. So yes, that is the reason for the hiatus. I just kind of really felt like the episodes were coming out and I was like, oh, before you know it, it's another week. Oh, before you know it, it's another week. And I just didn't feel like I was really paying attention to the episodes, basically. And God, I look like I'm in a jail. I promise my apartment's really cute. Maybe I'll show you guys. No, I'll show you guys when it's like more settled in. Give me like another week or so. So that's that. That explains the hiatus. And I was like, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to record something to put it out to get everybody caught up. So yes, live from New York. It's Big Yikes. I did it. I moved back. I did it. I'm going to take my glasses off so I don't see the reflection anymore because it's fucking trippy. I did it. I moved back. I have a place in the city. City goal. If you've ever lived in New York City, to graduate from Brooklyn and Queens or Jersey or Bronx or whatever, or any of the islands, Staten or Long, and then finally make it to the city, it's so cool. And it's like really awesome. And it feels like a big girl move. And I'm excited. And the apartment's lovely. The situation is lovely. The neighborhood is so lovely. Everything's great. I actually always really liked the Upper East Side. Stockmead, that is where I'm living. I always really liked it living in New York City. And I don't know, I just like the vibe. Yeah, as you know, if you've ever been in New York City, much like most major cities, all the little individual neighborhoods have their own character and reputations and things that they're known for. And what I really liked about Upper East Side was it was young professionals, but it was families. It was safe, but it still felt hip, but not as stuffy as Upper West and all of that. And I had always said that I was like, oh, if I ever make it to the city, if I ever get to live in Manhattan, if and when I move back to New York, that's where I would want to live. So this is Kismet, and I'm very grateful and I'm very excited, and everything's awesome. Everything's perfect. Obviously, like I said, not fully settled in yet. Just got here yesterday, but little by little, everything's coming together. And waking up in New York City after not living here since end of 21, 22, top of 22, was wild and trippy and emotional. I'm getting a little. It was just cool. I opened my eyes this morning and I was in the city, and in a weird way it almost felt like I blinked from the pandemic and opened my eyes and I was back. And I don't know, it's cool. Miami was an amazing chapter, professionally, personally, unexpected. Never thought I'd move back. Leave it to a global pandemic to make you kind of unclench your fists from the control of your life, if you will. And it was awesome. And it served its purpose on so many levels. And I truly feel like a different person. I definitely feel like a different comedian, a better comedian, better everything. For the most part, better, really better on nearly every level. And I think that's what happens when you go back to your hometown and you get a chance to kind of see it with fresh new eyes and whatever. Am we recording? I want to make sure before I like freaking. Yeah, we are. Okay, great. But the goal was always to come back to New York. Like I when I even came down in the pandemic, that was just a visit because New York was pretty apocalyptic, and I had the pleasure of having my mom and dad in Miami. And then I did the back and forth thing for as long as I possibly could. And then the rent moratorium was lifted. That was basically when the state of New York was allowing everybody to kind of get back on their feet. And then obviously the state of New York was like, time's up, that's it. And that was part of the decision. And the roommate I had at the time wanted to move back home. She was done with New York. And I was just spending more time in Miami, and I found myself in Miami more because it was more open than New York was, for better and for worse. And it just made sense. And it just, and as much as it made sense and as much as Miami was going well, I hysterically cried on like the floor of my then Astoria apartment in New York because I just could not believe that I was not going to be a New York resident anymore. And I knew Miami was the right move. Obviously, my mom and dad were down there. It's still home. So it's not like it was this big, crazy, dramatic thing, but it was a big, crazy, dramatic thing. Like I remembered laying on my apartment floor with the last few boxes and things, and feeling this fullness and this joy for my life in New York. And couldn't believe I was leaving. I couldn't believe that the little girl that had wanted to live in New York City her entire life wasn't going to anymore. Like that was the goal from when I was quite literally a baby. Like my family was in Jersey. I had this obsession with New York City. Even as a kid, I hated growing up in Miami, less even about Miami and more about this fixation on the city in New York and wanting to be there and wanting to be a performer and wanting to live there. So it was like, I remember in the pandemic, it was kind of crazy to realize like, okay, I know this is the right move. I know I'll be back. I know everything's going to be okay. It's not like I'm going to Kentucky. No offense if you've lived there or from there. It's not like I'm going somewhere brand new that I'm going to really have to start from scratch. But it was pretty painful. And that's why I kept going back and forth a lot, just to kind of slowly but surely rip the Band-Aid. So in so many moments throughout my Miami journey, I was like, okay, I think it's time to go back. Okay, I think it's time to go back. Okay, I think it's time to go back. And then something pulled me, usually work related, whether it was the radio station or just comedy going well, or just a new friend, a new opportunity, a new something. Every X amount of months, I would be like, okay, it's time. That's it. And I realized that for a while, interesting to note, I was abandoning Miami, or I was rushing the move out of Miami then for like the wrong reasons, for drama or for relationship stuff or for the bizarre toxicity that is the comedy scene down there. And I'm so glad that I didn't leave Miami a second sooner. So it's another reminder that everything happens for a reason, how it should. Que sera, sera, carpe diem, whatever it is. Because I think in hindsight, had I left Miami any sooner, I would have left Miami not on my terms as much as I thought it was on my terms. I would have left Miami for reasons that didn't pan out and don't matter, and that I don't even think of and aren't even worth mentioning. People, situations, reactions, things. And I wouldn't have maybe worked at the radio station. I wouldn't have accomplished what I did. I wouldn't have taped an OFTV special. I wouldn't have gotten the Arts Center. I wouldn't have done Dania, Miami. I wouldn't have done so many things. I wouldn't have met so many people. If you're listening, it's probably you are one of them. Thank you. So I'm really glad I didn't let other people make the decision to move out of Miami and back to New York. I'm glad I let myself do that. So that was cool to have had this be a long-term goal, but in April of last year, quit the radio station, which was definitely the right thing to do, as you guys have listened, not easy, and be like, okay, the official process to get back to New York as soon as we can, whenever that is happening. And to now be back less than a year later is cool. And I'm proud of myself, and be back in the city and feel good, so on and so forth. So here we are. And I am also, I didn't hysterize, if anyone's wondering. I cried once about leaving Miami, one time. And it was by myself, and it was the day that I booked my flight to come back because I had my place paid for, my room paid for, and I had some gigs on my mom's birthday, and she'd kill me if I missed that, and I wouldn't want to miss it either. So I was like, okay, well, when exactly am I going to go back? And then I just kind of looked ahead, and I was like, okay, January 12th. That's the date that makes sense. That gives me my mom's birthday, the gigs out of the way, a day to get everything. And I didn't feel this sadness because I'm going to come back to Miami a lot, and my parents are there, and I knew this was the right move. But I think the physical act of like booking the flight internalized, and like 2 hours later, I was like sitting at lunch by myself, and it hit, and I cried so hard for like an hour, and it was like a good cry. Same thing too, that it really was a good cry of looking back at like the last couple of years in Miami and being like, oh my God, what a beautiful detour. And how cool that I get to come back to Miami now as an adult, and I have this like extra full life in a way that I didn't X amount of years ago. And really on the whole, it was like a positive cry, but I definitely bawled. And that was the like, okay, chapters are closing and this is what you have to do. So, and now we're back in New York. And New York is interesting this time around because, and I knew that this was actually the sign that I should move back for sure, is 3 of my best friends are gone. Which is 3 of the couches I used to sleep on. So I was like, no, I really gotta get a place. But outside of that, 3 people that made New York feel like home the most: Alexis, who I've known since high school, Gabriella, and Mel. Literally after I decided and stuck my heels in the sand, and I was like, I'm coming back to New York. I'm so excited. I'm doing it. I'm looking at all the places. I'm doing, that's it. My mind's made up. I need to go back. Comedy, this and that. Alexis was like, me and my husband are moving to LA. Gabriella moved back home to Pittsburgh. Mel moved back home to Miami. So a lot of people would probably, myself included, think that that's a sign that you shouldn't move back, or think that that's a sign that like this is going to be tougher than it should be, or whatever. I've always really believed that resistance points true north. So wherever you're feeling the most resistance is probably where you should go and where you should focus your efforts. So having my 3 umbilical cords, my 3 safety nets, my 3 best friends up here, the people who remained after the pandemic, the people who I stayed with, the people who I've known the longest, 3 of my best friends, that made New York feel like home more than any other individual or thing, were gone. So I don't know, it was like kind of like gun to my head a little bit. It was like, are you really not going to move? Are you not going to do it? But then I was like, I think this is all the more reason to do it. I think quite literally, I joke, having 3 of my people, but 3 of my like couches and guest rooms gone. I was like, okay, move back to New York, get another place, try this again. So I will say, and that it is interesting walking around the city and having so many people, not even only their son, but other people that are not here anymore, that dictated and defined my life in New York before. Having them not here, it does feel weird. It's a little weird. I've like walked around the city and ran my errands and stuff the last 2 days, and I was like, that's crazy. Like Gabriella's not here, and Mel's not here, and Alexis isn't here, and this person and that person, or even that business, that cafe, that store, that thing. I don't know what the word for that feeling is. I don't think it's loneliness. I don't know what it is. Disillusion, confusion. I don't know the word. Vertigo. I don't know. It was interesting because I feel like the first time I moved to New York was fresh out of college, and I had so many friends moving to New York at the same time, from internships, from high school, from everywhere. I had my whole family in Jersey. I technically moved to Jersey first. So it was almost like a training wheels. The training wheels were on for that first move to New York. And now it feels like they're not for a couple different reasons. Um, so many. My people are gone. I'm in the city now. I'm a different age. I got to live in New York once and see what it's like. So the training wheels are definitely off now. I know how it moves, how expensive it is. I know where to avoid, where to go, what it's like. I know I can already wake up and feel an energy on a day I'm going to fucking hate it and I'm going to be in a bad mood. I can already wake up and feel an energy on a day where I'm going to be like gallivanting and can't believe that I live here. And there's sometimes in New York is no in between. It's just that kind of place. Whereas I feel like even with Miami, there's in between days, there's middle ground days, there's neutral days. In New York, there's not. And I would like for there to be. I think that's something to try to work towards now is true contentment, like less days that feel euphoric, less days that feel awful, and just more days that feel like this is life, you know? And I think I'll be able to do that now that I have that first New York chapter under my belt. But I lost my train of thought. It's cool to be back. It's also cool to be back with the tool belt of having lived in New York before as well. And it's cool to be back this with a purpose because the first time I moved to New York, it was in a job that I ended up hating and leaving. And now I'm coming back solely. No, not solely. Mostly for comedy because it's practical to be around and to be in this scene and work this scene and so on and so forth. And then I also, New York represents independence a little bit. I spent the last couple of years, if not living with Karen and Tony, shout out Karen and Tony, not the entire time, but a good chunk of it. And I think I have such a codependent relationship with my parents. This is just therapy for me. If anyone's still listening, thanks. I like owe you coffee or a drink. Just like what? There was a little codependency. It's so true as you get older that you start to take care of your parents. And if I ever have kids, I will never only have one in my control, obviously, as much as in my control that my body will allow, because I'm an only child and I feel like I'm carrying the weight of a fuck ton of shit that's going on now with my mom and dad that I have no one else to split this with. And that's okay. But it's a lot. And between my mom and dad's on financial issues, my father's health, my mother's health, the two of their mental healths, helping them take care of stuff around the house, helping them. It's now at the point where I know for sure like more than they do. And like, I think know better ways to do things for the most part. And I think it crossed a line because we are so close and they are my best friends and we do have such a beautiful relationship, but living not even only with them, but a hop, skip, and a jump away from West Kendall, their home. And by hop, skip, and a jump, I mean an hour and a half of traffic, depending on where I'm coming from. Hop, skip, and a jump. It did bleed a little bit into codependency and a little bit of me feeling really responsible for things that I shouldn't. And it's cool and awesome and rewarding to be a really good daughter and child to your parents, but you have to put your mask on first, like they say on the airplanes. So, yeah. And I think they were thrilled that I was back. Like, that was a silver lining in the pandemic. And I think our relationship developed so beautifully because it was now like adults getting to know each other. And they've seen me accomplish so much in Miami, right? And like they're at an age now where they don't travel the way they did. My dad has mobility issues. So as much as they wanted to be there for New York Comedy Fest or they would want to be there for all these things happening across the country or other bigger shows, it's not possible. So coming home to Miami and being able to bring it right to their doorstep was great and rewarding. They've tried restaurants they've never tried before. They've seen neighborhoods that they haven't been to in years in Miami just because they're like old and just don't really venture out too much, obviously. So that was great. And then just being too close to them. That's it. And I quite literally had to, if you're going through this with like in-laws or parents or anybody really, usually family though, specifically family, I would say, or family adjacent, it's okay to feel this way. And like, I think guilt and shame and pride and sense of responsibility, it's all, it's all one big kaleidoscope. And no one emotion is more important than another. And I don't think you can really have one and not have another. I think that's rare. We love the gray area on Big Yikes podcast. But I did quite literally make columns of like my problem, not my problem. And maybe that will help you because the line started to get kind of tangled. And I think they even subconsciously relied on me a little bit too much. And I can say that. And I left on beautiful terms, like nothing's wrong. So just like, well, I mean, a lot needs to be worked on, but nothing's wrong if that means anything. Such is life. A lot needs to be worked on, but nothing's wrong. Wow. There it is. I know they felt the same way because when I told them I was moving back to New York and when I told them I found the place and when everything started getting put into motion, the two of them were like, good, go. It's time. You should. And one of the last things my mom said before I flew in, she was like, I don't want you to worry about us. We are adults. We have made our own choices. We will continue to make our own choices. We're adults. We're fine. And what a mindfucked deja vu-esque thing. Because it's like what I used to say to my mom when I moved to New York. I was like, don't worry about me. Don't stay up all night. Don't worry. I'm fine. I'm always fine. I know you worry. You're a good mom. That's why you worry, but it's okay. I'm fine. So it was kind of crazy not to be moving back at 33, almost 34, and have her be like, don't worry about us. Don't wait up all night worrying about us. So, circle of life. But that's about it, I guess. I will still be in Miami a good amount. I will still be getting back on the road. I am excited for this year and hoping good things come of it. Though 2025 has started pretty apocalyptic with these fires in LA. If you were in LA, I am so sorry. And it is so heartbreaking. And if you need anything, I don't know how I can help, but I'm here for emotional support and clothes, money. I don't have a ton, but I can help. Between that and a couple other in those terror attacks on like New Year's or right before New Year's in New Orleans, and it's just definitely. I don't think for the collective 2025 started smoothly. Individually for me, it started fairly smoothly, even though I felt not ready for it to start. But for the collective and society in the world, it doesn't seem to be an easy landing into the new year. So I hope that changes. But given who's in office, it probably won't. That's it. I think we'll end on that. I didn't feel ready for 2025. I'll leave you guys with this. I never feel ready. I don't know. I never feel ready. I don't know what feeling ready constitutes. I don't know. And that could go for anything. It's like, did you feel ready to move back to New York? And then it's like, I don't know. Yeah. I really did. Up until like the week before, right? That's when the cold feet come in. Like, I guess with marriage and other things, right? Like you feel ready until you're not. And then it's like surfing. It's like getting ready to catch a big wave or like a roller coaster where you're like, we gotta go on that. And then all of a sudden you're like climbing up the incline right before the big drop. And you're like, this is a mistake. And then the drop happens. So I did not feel ready for the new year. I think it's because I didn't really take too much real actual time off. So I just kind of, oh, here we go into the new year. But I did that the last 2 years, and that's not good because I have high cholesterol and my cortisol levels are out of control. So don't take a marriage on my book. with that. But I also think sometimes we overthink these things. And I'm not even just saying the holiday of New Year's Eve. We just overthink things. We put too much pressure on situations. And I think maybe that is the way we should enter a new year, like delicately and cautiously and guarded, but optimistic, and just put one foot in front of the other. And I almost feel that way about like my move to New York too, right? It's so easy to fall into this like, okay, we're here, unpack, let's go, hit the open mic, go to this, go to that, go see this person. Why aren't you running 3 shows yet? You're back. The whole reason you're back is that you want to be a fucking famous comic. You got New York, you know. And I the other day was like, I was like, Brittany, don't put too much pressure on this move. Mostly because you're going to be in Miami still a lot, and also just don't put too much pressure. Just don't put too much pressure, just in the sense of like, I'm back, so I gotta go and hit the ground running and like whatever. And I think that's how it's like a marathon. So I think that's how you tucker out. So I am trying to put one foot in front of the other and remind myself that I am doing enough, and also remind myself that good things. I just keep saying the word good things. And I've been doing my morning pages, and I have like a little fishbowl where I'm writing down things that are good that have happened. And I've fallen off with it, but then I've gotten back on. And then I realized I was having this negative spiral where I was like, you always fall off with this shit, Brittany. You can't fucking stick to anything. You do this every fucking year. And then you do the morning pages for 2 weeks and you're done. And then you say you're going to, and then I was like, okay, well, that's not helping anybody. Meaning myself. That's not good for anybody. So go easy on yourself, I guess, is the closing note. And hopefully the next episode will probably be one of them from LA. We have so many awesome guests from LA. The episodes were shot in September, but they're really evergreen, deep, good conversations with really good guests and some cool people and media personalities and people you'll know too. And then there will be a bunch of episodes from New York, and of course we'll do episodes from Miami. And who knows, who knows, I may even have a dating update at some point. Probably not, but maybe. My goal in that department for this year is to not be an episode of Handmaid's Tale again. That's the goal. Because after last year, I grew my hymen back, and I forgot the soft caress of a man who you trust and like. And I just don't, I don't want that this year. I just want to feel like a human being this year. I want to feel normal, and I want to strike balance. I started doing a really good job of actually achieving balance last year. And truly saying no to certain things, to do dinners with friends, taking a week off of spots. Maybe not a week. I don't think I've gone a week without stage time ever. Like ever. An entire week, like 7 days, even 5 days without any stage time. That hasn't happened. And that probably won't happen. And that's for the best. But I started to be good about being like, that's okay. I don't need to do this. I'm going to go to the beach with my friends. That's okay. I'm going to take a day and go, oh, I got Botox, by the way. This is all over the place. I almost said that. Keep saying it like it's a Catholic confession. I keep saying it like it's like, I got Botox, by the way. Because I feel like I'm lying to people. Or I feel like a weird shame. I don't know. First timer with Botox. Got it. I can still move my face if you look at the audio component. Not really. Not here. It looks good though. I did very little, and I did it mostly out of curiosity because the whole world has done it. And I also did it because I am going to be 34 in 2 weeks. So I did it like preventatively. The general review on Botox is it's just okay. I don't know if I would refill it in 3 to 4 months. I'm not blessed with a lot, but I think my skin's okay. It was really interesting because I was so interested in doing it, and I could afford it. And I was like, I'm going to go super conservative, really minimal. I just want to see. Maybe I'll get it done and I'll look at myself and I'll be like, yes, or I'll hate it. I don't know. And I feel really indifferent to it. And the opposite of love is indifference. So was weird. I got it done and I initially was like, cool. And then it suddenly felt so silly. I can't explain it. And like I said, if you're looking at the video, like it's nothing. I did the bare minimum. It's actually a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. It's like very cheap. It's a little concerning. But yeah. And I just was like, I suddenly, as sold on it as I was and curious about it, by the way, it's not that I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh God, who's this fucking troll? Like, I don't hate myself. But I think you hit your mid 30s and you just start thinking about this stuff and you're like, oh, well, maybe. Oh, well, maybe. Oh, I also was living in Miami where after a while, it does take a toll on your mental health and your self-esteem when everybody looks a lot different than you and puffier and shinier and tighter and bigger and boinkier and buoyant. So I do think subconsciously, my mother thought I was batshit when I told her. I was like, oh, I have an appointment. My mom was like, for what? And her first thing was like, oh, another tattoo. You're running out of real estate on your body. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm actually doing like a little Botox and lip flip. And she was like, what the fuck? Like, she did not. She was like, stupid, stupid, stupid. Waste of money. Oh, come on. Are you one of those? Oh, Miami's gotten to you. You're one of those girls. Whatever. That's an accurate impression of my mom. But so I'll say that. I got it done. I don't have any regrets. I think it's okay. I guess I look different. I guess I look better. I felt silly immediately after. That said, I will be treating myself to lip filler for my birthday. So if I come back looking like Donald Duck, that's why. Okay, that's it. This is a good episode to end on. Please rate the pod, comment on the pod. Please stick with me. I'm not going to go on a hiatus again. Literally next week, I'm getting back into a groove with Blondell. And the LA episodes are rolling out. And then we're going to have fun New York episodes. And even if I just have to sit here in my little itty bitty apartment and talk to myself again, this was actually fun. This was fun. And I also feel, as gorgeous as the studio was, I feel a lot more confident and fluid in a space that I'm comfortable in and something that's a little less fancy. So who knows? Maybe these rants that are, I don't even know how long we've been here, may continue. Anywho, Happy New Year. That's right. I'm still saying it up until September. I love you. If you are in Seattle, Kansas City, Calgary, Canada, LA, or New York, I'm coming to you in the next 2 months. Canada, first international date. What? And subscribe and tell a friend. And be good to yourself. And go live life. And create more big yikes moments. Because who knows, you may start a podcast. Okay, bye guys.